Joining me now, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds and Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, let's start with you. Your new colleague, Adam Schiff from California, got pressed about Democrats' messaging. Watch.
The threat that you said that Donald Trump poses to American democracy. Why don't you think the American voters heeded your call?
It's not, I think, that voters were unconcerned, don't care about our democracy. They do. But there were things that they cared about even more.
Senator, they still do not get it. They still don't get it.
No, they don't. Let's face it, the fundamental transformation that President Obama promised us and that Biden tried to implement was fundamentally destroying this country. And Americans realize that. The open borders, the 40-year high inflation, the war on fossil fuels, the weakness that we displayed internationally, which has set the world in flames. So, no, I mean, Joe Biden will go down as the worst president in history. He's trying to do as much damage as possible on his way out the door. January 20th cannot come soon enough.
Well, Congressman Donalds, we also have the matter of what this is all going to cost to reform government, because it's going to cost money to undo what Biden did. Like deporting millions of people is going to cost a lot of money. Democrats never worry about costs when they're spending, but now they're raising the alarm. This is from CNN. Watch.
A lot of what he's talking about on the border and on taxes, this is stuff that's going to cost money.
Yeah.
So we're actually talking about some of the more difficult parts of this because Republicans are getting ready to put an agenda that's going to be hugely expensive.
Again, Congressman, they spent hundreds of billions on Ukraine, hundreds of billions on the illegals, and we're still paying. But now we can't fix it because it's going to cost money? Really?
We're going to ignore them, Laura. We're going to get the job done, and we're going to fix these issues. Listen, creating a repatriation force to send illegal aliens back to their home countries, yeah, that's probably going to cost us anywhere from $80 to $100 billion. But that pales in comparison to the cost of keeping those illegal aliens here in the United States, not just the federal level, but to state budgets and to local budgets. You want to talk about the abomination of Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act or his American Rescue Plan, or the fact that federal discretionary spending is up way more than 20% since the end of COVID-19, simply because the Democrats were addicted to spending money. The reality is you don't have to throw money at every situation to fix it. Frankly, sending more money out the door makes the problems worse because there's no efficiency to what you're doing. So our colleagues on Capitol Hill, we have a responsibility to cut spending, do those things properly, but to reverse the Biden agenda, which has been disastrous for America. And if we spend some money to do that, it pales in comparison to the future economic success for America and Americans. We're going to get that job done.
Yeah, Senator Johnson, you've been around for a while now in the Senate, and you know the institutional roadblocks that are in place to do the types of things that Congressman Donalds was saying in the House. Namely, there are a lot of people who like to spend a lot of money. How do you actually do the cost cutting that's necessary? And it has to happen across the board, including at the Pentagon, where there's a lot of fat to be cut.
Well, first of all, you start talking about the real numbers, which is what I've started to do. So in 2019, we spent $4.4 trillion. The year of the pandemic, we spent 6.5, and we've never looked back, Laura. We've never spent under $6 trillion since the pandemic. This year we'll spend over $7 trillion. So, you know, the Uniparty has done a really good job of deviously transferring discretionary spending into mandatory. I've laid out a proposal to go back to pre-pandemic spending levels, inflate them by inflation and, you know, population growth, exempt Social Security, Medicare, and interest, and we would have somewhere between $5.5 to $6.5 trillion of spending, saving massive amount of money, more than enough to pay for border security. So again, you look at the numbers, you put yourself back on a reasonable baseline based on pre-pandemic spending. Again, this is like a family who has an illness. That year they're going to spend a lot of money, then their family member gets cured, and they keep spending just like they had the high medical bills. It's absurd. It's not sustainable. It's not reasonable. It's not justified.
And Congressman Donalds, during the break, I couldn't help but notice a little bit of a family feud developing on the H-1B visa issue. It's something I've been fighting against for many years. MAGA has been unified against giving giveaways to big tech to keep costs of labor low. And yet there's some movement, it looks like, from the Trump team to expand those H-1B visas. Should that be a cause of concern for the administration that's trying to hold on to its working class cred?
I'm not as concerned yet, because the number one job we're going to get done is securing the border and then actually sending people back to their countries. That's going to be a monumental task, a monumental lift. I think after that gets done is when you get into immigration policies and how are we actually going to fix our immigration system in a responsible way. The number one job that needs to be done is to protect the American workers here at home. Not saying that there's not any need for any foreign talent to come into the United States, but it cannot be to the detriment of Americans who are trying to get their hands and put their labor to use in our economy to do what's best for their families and for themselves. As long as those are the contours of any immigration policy reforms, then I think we'll be able to land that plane.
Senator, do you think we need to have no caps on H-1B visas?
Well, again, we have to secure the border first. That's what the congressman's talking about here. Then we need to talk about, what's a rational legal immigration system. I was working with Jared Kushner in the first Trump administration, coming up with something. You set caps, again, that aid the economy but don't hurt the American worker. I think it's possible to do, but you have to first secure the border.
Yeah, there are a lot of people I know. I'm going to get into this later on in the week. A lot of friends I know who have actually had to train their foreign replacement and been threatened to have their severance package
that's
actually pulled back if they don't train their foreign replacements. So there's a lot of scams going on in the H-1B visa world, and we're going to continue to document that. Congressman and Senator, both of you, thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.